The first race of the 2022 season is just around the corner, but before we get to the action in Bahrain, before we even get to the final few days of testing out there in the Middle East, Netflix has still got to drop its highly anticipated fourth season of Drive to Survive. That's right, the best behind the scenes look at Formula 1 is coming back on March the 11th, and we here at GPFans thought we'd predict exactly what we're going to see, or at least expecting to see, this time round in the series. Before we go any further, hit the subscribe button down below to stay up to date with all the content we produce here at the channel. But now, this is what we're hoping to see on Netflix's Drive to Survive Season 4. Every year since 2019, Drive to Survive offers a unique look behind the scenes within Formula 1. A Netflix film crew follows the various teams during the season and thus captures the premier class of motorsport in a way that has remained hidden from the general public for years. The series has of course been a huge success and has been instrumental in growing the popularity of Formula 1, particularly in the United States. However, the program makers are not afraid to step up the show with cleverly cut fragments and exaggerated sound effects, which they sometimes come under a bit of criticism for, especially outside of the USA. But let's get into what we are going to see, or at least expecting to see, this time out. It is difficult to predict every year what the makers of Drive to Survive will and will not put attention into in the series. For example, the much discussed substitution of George Russell at Mercedes was missing from the third season. However, you can bet that the intense title battle between Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton will be covered extensively. The duo, of course, were engaged in a heated battle for the World Championship from start to finish last season, something Netflix is probably incredibly grateful for. Netflix will undoubtedly not fail to portray the crashes at Silverstone and Monza in a versatile and perhaps sometimes exaggerated manner. However, we will not hear much from Max Verstappen during the show. The Dutchman isn't a fan of Drive to Survive because he believes that the makers occasionally seek a touch of sensationalism in their reporting. He is therefore not given any extensive interviews to Netflix for this season. With the finale in Abu Dhabi, Formula 1 had a script last year that you probably couldn't have written at the start of the season. The bizarre final masterpiece at the Yas Marina circuit will undoubtedly have been covered extensively. With a bit of luck, the makers were able to capture some of the commotion behind the scenes as well on the pit walls. It would not be the first time that we suddenly see some spicy conversations between a number of F1 leaders on Netflix. And speaking of leaders, Christian Horner and Toto Wolff, the team bosses of Red Bull Racing and Mercedes respectively, played a major role in both the title fight and the media last season. Tensions between the duo regularly ran high, with mud being thrown back and forth, especially in the press. The makers have undoubtedly captured some awkward encounters, as we've known from previous seasons, and we can't wait to see what they've got in their locker. The return of the Schumacher name to F1 is probably not something Netflix will pass up. Mick Schumacher made his debut with the Haas team last season, where he had a pretty good first year in F1. Due to the lack of performance at Haas, of course, the young German driver drove at the back of the field, but regularly managed to outdo his teammate Nikita Mazepin. Although the Schumacher name is a little smaller in America than in Europe, it is unlikely to be ignored. This one is a bit more unlikely, but Nikita Mazepin might play a bit of a less fun role in the series. The young Russian was somewhat disgraced last year before his debut in Formula 1 because of a video that went out on social media in which he grabbed a woman by the breast. The hashtag MazepinOut was trending on Twitter for weeks. However, the Haas driver has also had the opportunity to show a different side of himself throughout the season, causing many fans to change their mind about him. Whether or not we'll see his character development in the series remains to be seen. Another guaranteed nailed-on episode is surely McLaren's 1-2 at Monza last season. After a chaotic race in which Verstappen and Hamilton, among others, both retired after crashes, Danny Ricciardo crossed the line first. His teammate Lando Norris seized second place. It was Ricciardo's first win since 2018, McLaren's first win since 2012, and the team also won the only 1-2 of the season. Reason enough, surely, for its own episode. As mentioned briefly, George Russell was perhaps ignored a little last year, but this time the makers can't look away from the young British driver. After 3 series with Williams, Russell has made the switch to Mercedes, where he takes place alongside, of course, 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton. Drive to Survive previously mapped the arrival of Esteban Ocon at Alpine from start to finish. It'd be quite cool to see something similar with Russell in the new series. The two-time world champion Fernando Alonso returning to the grid after a 2-year absence will of course be a thing in Drive to Survive. Add to the fact that the Spaniard was involved in a very bad bicycle accident just before his return to Formula 1 and was on the podium in Qatar, you would have thought the 40-year-old veteran will have his own storyline somewhere. Finally, the retirement of Kimi Raikkonen from Formula 1 can't be missed in the series. The 2007 world champion put an end to his impressive career after almost 20 years at the highest level. He did this entirely in his own way, silently and without any real fanfare. The Finn left for the sunset with his family for a well-deserved vacation. Whether he has given extensive interviews is doubtful knowing Kimi's approach, but attention will certainly be paid to it anyway. The 2021 season was certainly a special one. Week after week, we were treated to an incredible spectacle, and there are plenty of other noteworthy moments that could make the cut for Season 4. Think of the Belgian Grand Prix behind all of that wet weather madness, or the madhouse in the stands at Zandvoort as well as Max Verstappen took the crown at his home Grand Prix. Let us know in the comments section below what you think should also be included in this year's Drive to Survive series, and hit the subscribe button to stay with us here at GPFans for the whole of the 2020 season.